Several factors that affects UV radiation or the exposure of organisms to UV radiation. So first you have latitude, so the location of a particular area within the earth, whether it is near the tropics or far the tropics. So we all know that much of the solar radiation are or received by the areas near the equator and minimal on the poles or the northern and southern hemispheres. So most likely, um, radiation or UV radiation, which can penetrate to the surface of the Earth, are received by areas, okay, near the equator or within the equator. Okay. Next, we have the season. So, technically, if you have rainy season, when the area is covered with clouds, for example, or winter, ayan, so probably nakaka-cover niya yung solar radiation, kaya wala masyadong penetration ng UV as compared during summertime or spring, ayan. So, when there are no cloud coverings that can be observed within the atmosphere, kaya nagpe-penetrate yung UV sa surface ng Earth. Time of the day, also kung gabi or umaga or during tanghali, so most likely that is uh, very recognizable kung which time of the day most likely UV can or organisms can um, or, uh, affected by UV, or which UV can actually penetrate towards the surface of the Earth. You have also altitude, that is actually the elevation. So kung nasa lower elevation ka or you are in the higher elevation, but that depends also if there is vegetation that covers the particular elevation. So kung nasa higher elevation ka at walang cover mismo, so most likely you will receive large amount or that particular area receives large amount of UV as compared kung nasa baba ka naman tapos may vegetation na cover yung area na yun, so most likely nahaharang nung vegetation mismo. So, altitude, kung nasa mataas na lugar, but then again, as what I have said, that depends on the vegetation cover. And you have also the cloud cover. So, clouds partially, the same, sabi nga doon sa previous slide, cloud cover can actually uh, prevent the penetration of UVA radiation. Okay. So you have also rain. Sa rain naman, most likely that the precipitation is accompanied with nimbus clouds or dark clouds. So most likely, nakaharang niya rin yun. And you have air pollution. Sa air pollution naman, there are certain um, particulates in the air that can make or can trap, okay, partially nahaharang na yung UV, or meron din namang particulates na which help UV to reach the surface of the earth. Okay. So, aside from the good ozone, meron din siyang bad ozone. So, that is within the troposphere or within or near the surface of the Earth. So, that is ozone produced by pollutants, which is bad. So, excessive ozone exposure reduces the crop yields and, of course, forest growth. So, the bad ozone here, particularly, you have the smog, for example, overproduction of smoke from factories, so they can build up within the layer of the atmosphere, particularly in the troposphere, so they can actually contribute or can be called as bad ozone. We have also the natural ozone that is natural component of the clean atmosphere. So ozone's chemical role in the atmosphere includes helping to remove their other gases, but those occurring naturally and those emitted by human activities. So that is the natural ozone. So bakit po ba nade-deplete ang ozone layer? Okay? So let me correct a misnomer with regards to ozone layer. Hindi po nabubutas ang ozone layer, but ozone layer thinning is what is happening. Okay? So I would like to correct that. Ozone layer, there are no holes for ozone layer, but there is what we so called ozone layer thinning. Numinipis po ang ozone. It is because nauubos yung tinatawag na O3, which is the ozone gas. Okay. So, sa process kasi nito, for example, if there are gases which is emitted by the surface of the earth, like of the CFCs or the chlorofluorocarbons. These chlorofluorocarbons are of chlorine or may chlorine component siya, chlorine gas component. So pag di ba sabi natin that ozone layer prevents UV uh, going towards the surface of the earth. So, pag nag-strike po ang UV dito, yun po kasi ang dahilan kung bakit nagbe-break ang ozone gas into oxygen, which is O2, and one atom of oxygen. So, pag available po ang chlorine gas na galing sa CFC, ang problema po niyan is that yung isang oxygen na humiwalay dito sa O3, okay, ay magre-react po dito sa chlorine. Okay? So, pag nag-react po yun sa chlorine, hindi na po mabubuo yung O3. Magiging O2 na lang siya. So, with the presence of those gases, like of chlorine, kaya nababawasan yung ozone gas, which is O3. Sa kabilang banda, kung wala namang um, chlorine, okay, in this case, yan. Yan. Dito naman pala sa portion na 'to, since kokonti na lang yung ozone, usually UV or manipis na lang yung ozone layer natin, usually nagpe-penetrate na yung UV radiation at the surface of the Earth, giving now some of or there will be cascading effects that will affect organisms within the Earth's surface. Okay. So, dito, medyo okay pa kasi medyo makapal pa ang ozone but with the presence of gas, like of chlorine, nababawasan yung pagbalik ng O3 kaya konti na lang at this portion kaya UV radiation can penetrate towards the surface of the Earth. So ito, actually this is not a hole. This is just an area na manipis at the Antarctic zone. So I would like to correct that one. It's not even a hole. It's just a thinning of the ozone layer. So what are the causes of ozone layer depletion? Yeah. So there are other substances that are emitted by the Earth is also just like of factories and even vehicles and even um, other materials at home that we use that can contribute to that particular gases in the atmosphere which depletes the ozone. Meron din po tayong kinatawag na photochemical smog. You have the brown color and unpleasant smell. It is composed or a reaction of nitric oxide that reacts with the oxygen in or the O or one atom of oxygen in the air. So yun po ang dahilan kung bakit hindi bumabalik si O3 sa kanyang natural composition. You have CFCs, you have CTCs, methyl chloroform, methyl bromide from herbicides, and you have of course halons, yung composition ng fire extinguisher. Meron din hydrofluorocarbon, HCFCs. Meron din tayong other causes. You have deforestation kasi nga ang forest ay carbon sink. So wala na pong mag-a-absorb ng carbon dioxide within the air. Isa din po siya sa nagko-cause ng depletion ng ozone layer. Fertilizers use yung composition niya, yung gases na nagde-diffuse sa atmosphere, in the previous slide na mentioned, and you have also fossil fuel combustion, which creates or which produces CO2 also, or carbon dioxide. Okay. So what is being done with in terms of the depletion of ozone layer or good ozone per se? So US together with 180 countries, they have signed this what we saw called Montreal Protocol in 1987, phasing out the production and use of ozone depleting substances. Okay, and of course, providing labels on some of the materials that we are using that it can contribute to, um, or it contains that particular gas that can actually cause ozone depletion. Ayan. So aside from the Montreal Protocol, so you have also Kyoto Protocol in 1997, okay, which is being enforced in 2005. Okay. Ito naman, overall emissions of six greenhouse gases or carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, sulfur, hexafluoride, HFCs, and PFCs. Okay. So, within 5-year period po nila hanggang 2012. So, tapos na po ito na ano. Yan. So, as you can see, there have been protocols that is being established by different countries. But then again, the problem is still the same. Okay? Okay? Existing pa rin po yung tinatawag na ozone depletion and the effects of that particular phenomenon. So, in Montreal Protocol, the Philippine government as are involved or is involved in its commitment with 128 countries phasing out ozone depleting substances. So there are environmentalists, okay, or there are actually concerned individuals that do not buy some of the materials that contains ozone depleting substances. So they have established that three major substances that causes ozone depletion. We have CFCs, chlorofluorocarbon, chlorotetla, tetla, tetrachlorocarbon, and you have the MC. So there are 300 local firms in the Philippines are engaged in the use of these substances. I think there have been some talks with the Philippine government and some of these um, local firms in the Philippines just to um, uh, take some actions or possible actions in order to reduce the emissions of these gases. So what are the alternatives to ozone depleting substances? You have hydrocarbons, you have HFCs, you have also perfluorocarbons, yan, with these particular characteristics. Okay, so for example, you have PFCs, have extremely long atmospheric lifetimes resulting to their irreversible accumulation in the atmosphere. So what are the effects of ozone depletion for human? Ayan, nakakos po siya ng sakit. Most likely, yung mga sakit po na to for plants, um, best ano to is bumababa po yung yield, especially for the crops. For marine ecosystem naman, okay, damages, okay, magkakaroon ng developmental disorders yung mga organisms in marine ecosystems. Primarily, they are very exposed to UV radiation, so pwedeng ma-absorb nila yung UV radiation, which can alter their genetic material, causing cascading effects, which is listed in this particular slide. So in biogeochemical cycles, for example, so altering both sources and sinks of greenhouse gases and chemically important trace gases, possibly other gases including ozone. Yan. So may alteration ng normal biogeochemical cycles. Ang biogeochemical cycles kasi, ito yung paano nare-recycle mismo yung mga substances within the earth. What are the processes involved? So, with the presence of these or over-accumulation of these substances, pwedeng ma-alter yung normal cycle. So, effects on the materials. So, you have synthetic polymers, other materials for commercial, there's adversely affected. So, it's not only the environment that is being affected, and also the production of materials used also by humans. Ayan. So, naaapektuhan din siya, not only the natural environment. Okay. So, most probably, those are the effects of ozone depletion.